from Nebraska.
Mr. President, I ask that the quorum call be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to speak about human sex trafficking, an issue that plagues the world and our nation. Today, I join my colleagues, Senator Cornyn, Wyden, Klobuchar, and King, in supporting legislation to help fight this evil and to stop it from spreading. Sex trafficking is real. It is affecting millions of people around the world. We should not tolerate it, and we cannot turn a blind eye. This modern-day form of slavery has continued to grow in the shadows all around us, and it is time to take action. Mr. President, the scale of this problem is difficult to calculate, yet many estimates, including those from the United Nations and various human rights organizations, show that millions of human beings are being trafficked every year. Meanwhile, the criminals who force these victims into slavery profit to the tune of $32 billion annually. 300,000 children right here in the United States are at risk of becoming victims of this vile practice, and teenagers are the primary targets. These kids are being sold into a life of physical and emotional abuse. Often they are runaways who flee violent households looking for a way out. Women and girls represent a disproportionate amount of those trafficked around the world, but this does affect all of us. The pain and suffering that victims experience is hard to describe in words. Simply put, it is evil. We must do more to stop this plague, and our work begins by setting a clear example. This Sunday, we will commemorate International Women's Day. As we celebrate the progress women have made here in the United States and around the world, we must also use this moment to remind ourselves of the work that still needs to be done. As I mentioned, Senator Cornyn and I, along with several of our colleagues, introduced a new bill to address this issue. This legislation would set up a deficit-neutral fund to support people abused by sex trafficking. Through enhanced reporting and mechanisms that would reduce demand, this bill can serve as the next step in providing care for victims of trafficking and child pornography. Furthermore, Senator Cornyn's bill protects victims in court by treating the traffickers as violent criminals. By labeling traffickers in this way, convicts can now be detained while they await their judicial proceedings. Funding for the bill comes from increased fines placed on those convicted of trafficking. While nothing can erase the pain inflicted on these victims, we must do what we can to make a difference. I encourage all of my colleagues to join in this effort and stand against this vile practice. A number of my colleagues have other bills as well, and we should take the time to consider solutions that are offered by all of them. Our government has a responsibility to stand up and to act for those whose voices grow weak in the shadows of this imperfect world. This is our moment to do something. Mr. President, these victims do not have time to wait, and we must act now. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.